Jon Gordon, you are a 10-time bestseller author. You have written 23 books and you are sought after keynote speaker. You are often featured in several TV channels such as CNN, CNBC, and the TV show, and many more. And today we're here to talk about your book, The Coffee Bean, a simple lesson to create positive change. Jon, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, it's great to be with you.
Wow, Jon, I was looking into your profile and 23 books. That's a lot of writing. I wonder, how did you get started into this journey of becoming a writer? Can you take us back to, I don't know, maybe when you were in high school trying to decide what you were going to do with the rest of your life?
Well, in high school, I didn't know I wanted to be a writer. In college, I didn't know I wanted to be a writer. What happened was my wife came up to me when I was 31 years old, and I was miserable. I was unhappy with my life, and I was making her miserable, and everything was falling apart. And she said, I love you, but I'm not going to spend my life with someone who makes me so miserable. You need to change. And I did need to change. She was going to leave if I didn't change. So it was a huge wake-up call for me. And I asked myself why I was so miserable. Why was I so unhappy? And I realized I wasn't living my purpose. So I asked, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I born to do? And writing and speaking came to me. 31 years old, it just came to me. I mean, I prayed, and I really believe God gave me my calling. He revealed my purpose and what I'm here to do, because you don't just write 23 books by accident. And so in that moment, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start writing and speaking. And my friends at that time remember me telling them, hey, I'm going to start writing and speaking. They were like, oh, okay, sure. And I just started to do it. And I wrote a book called The Energy Bus. The Energy Bus is my most popular book. It's translated into multiple languages. It's in French, it's in Spanish, it's in Portuguese, it's in Chinese, you name it. It's been translated to all these different languages. And The Energy Bus became a bestseller. And this was years ago in 2007 is when it came out. But it took 5 years for it to be a bestseller. It's a fable. It's a story. And so I got to be known for The Energy Bus. But then I would be speaking at different events with different groups and different people and having conversations. And I started to get new ideas for new books. And so each year I would get a new idea. Then I wrote children's books. And then I wrote all these different Power of Positive Leadership, the Power of a Positive Team, which is my culmination of all my experience and the lessons I've learned in leadership and building great teams, because people would bring me in to speak on leadership, on teamwork, on how to build a great culture, how to build a great organization. So it just led to all these different books along the way. And so I usually get an idea, I get a vision, and I will write the book in 3.5 to 4 weeks is the longest it usually takes. I get the idea, the vision. I write every morning. At night, I will edit what I wrote and get up the next morning and get new ideas and write again. Then I go take a walk, practice gratitude, pray, come back, more ideas, write some more, and then I'm done for the day. And that begins the process. So when I'm writing, I'm really focused on writing. And sometimes I'll write 2 books a year, but usually it's 1 book a year.
And when you were 31 years old, can you share with us some of those things that were making you unhappy, cranky? What was the part of you that your wife didn't like? What was going on then?
I lost my job during the dot-com crash in 2001. So I was working for a .com in technology, and I had been in the restaurant business and bar business since I was 24 years old. I opened up a bar in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was pretty successful. And then I got involved in this technology business. I thought I was going to make my gazillions of dollars, and then the dot-com crashed. But I was working for a company that I didn't really love. I missed owning my own place because I sold my business back to my partners. And so I really wasn't doing work that I loved. I was having to be told what to do every single day from a company, from a boss, and I didn't love that. I really liked being an entrepreneur and building my own things. That's just what I was made for, right? So I didn't know that at the time. Afterwards, I said, I'm never going to go do this again. I'm going to be my own boss forever. And so I was really unhappy there. I was in a position in my life where I didn't have faith. I was also someone who didn't know what they truly wanted to do. So I had no vision. I had no purpose. So when you're not living your purpose, when you don't have a vision, when you're not very positive, when you're not happy with the way things are going, of course, all these things are going to make you miserable and you're not going to be the best that you can be. And I wasn't feeding myself every day with positivity. I was feeding myself with a lot of negativity. So I was a really completely different person than I am now. Like I am so just incredibly different than who I was back then after doing this work all these years on positivity.
Right. And I assume you are still happily married?
Yes, 23 years. Thankful that she stayed with me. And we wrote a book called Relationship Grit. It came out a few months ago, actually. And it's a book about our ups and downs. It's a book about that time when she almost left me. It's a book about lessons that will help couples stay stronger together and get through their challenges together. Because I think too often we give up, because it gets hard in the relationship. So we just give up. And I believe that if you stick it out, you'll find a lot of love and intimacy and connection on the other side of it. But we don't want just couples to stick it out, like just stick it out and be miserable. No, work on the relationship, invest in the relationship, invest in each other. And when you do that and you focus on building each other up and encouraging each other and complimenting each other and really working through your challenges together, that's when you become a stronger couple in the process. So for us, it's all about helping couples do that. And that was a lot of fun to write, but it was hard to write too, because I shared all my flaws, my mistakes, my past along the way. People know me as this, best-selling author, and a lot of them have read my books. And now they sort of look under the hood and they see, pull back the curtain, they see the whole story behind it all. And so it was hard to share, but I knew I needed to help all the people out there who don't want to change. It's like, if you could change, you can have a much better life and a much better marriage. And now we're really happily married.
Wow. I know many couples that are basically roommates. I mean, each one have their own bedroom and they are not unhappy. They are as happy as you can be with a roommate, but is not a real couple relationship. But, that they have a good front. If anyone see it from the outside, they think it's a wonderful marriage, but and it's not terrible. I mean, but it's not the ideal marriage. So yeah, maybe a few people can benefit from your book on that one.
Relationship grit is all about going a little deeper, and it's beyond surface. If you're at the surface level and you're not really connected and you're really not committed, you're not going to have the intimacy and the love and the joy and also the great physical connection that you can have in a relationship, that you'll be looking outside the relationship. And we're meant to have that kind of intimacy in the relationship. And so when you get excited about each other, you get excited about your relationship, and you create an exciting marriage when you do that. And you're right. A lot of people are just living together, but we have to take the time to connect. We have to take the time to communicate. Connect, commit, and care. I call it the 4 C's. Communicate, connect, commit, and care. You do those 4 C's, you're going to build a stronger relationship.
Okay, so I have a desire of one day to become an author, maybe like you. So, I mean, you are a bartender, then you are in this .com boom. How do you learn to write? I mean, one thing is just to, I don't know, maybe put your ideas together, but your book was a great success and you have no background in writing.
Right. I would write occasionally, again, articles and stuff and put them in papers when I was in my 20s. I would write different things on, politics and current society and things I thought needed to be done. I would share, because I ran for city council of Atlanta when I was 26 years old. I ran for, a political office. I lost the election. I was 26, but it was a really good experience in doing that. I wanted to make a difference that way, but, there was obviously a different plan for me. So I never knew I could write a story. And then just one day when I had this idea for the energy bus, it came to me on a walk. I just wrote it and just sat down and started writing. And again, I never wrote a story before like that, and I just did it. I don't know how. I mean, I would say spiritually, I would get ideas, visions, and I just started writing it. For me, it was like a painter who paints, a musician who composes a music or gets a song. It's in their head and they start writing it down. And for me, I was connecting to, a greater source of energy. For me, God. You know, I really believe in God, and I believe God was giving me the words I was meant to share, the ideas and the vision, and then was using me to write it. Because the book has sold over 2 million copies, and, you know, reaching people around the world, and has helped a lot of people who have been struggling with their negativity and their adversity and their challenges. So it's really impacted a lot of people, as has the coffee bean, which we're going to talk about. And so I know that I was meant to do this to help others, not for myself, but to help others. And I think the key is I'm willing, I'm open. Like, okay, use me to make a difference.
Right.
Have me do what you want me to do. Have me be what you want me to be. I think people sit down and write and they think it has to be perfect. Just write every day, just write, and you will get better and better as you do it.
Right. Okay. So you just mentioned the coffee bean, and it's a short book. It's a nice, pleasant. So it wouldn't be an stretch to ask you to explain it to us. What's happening in the coffee bean?
Well, it's a little book, a very short read, 20 minutes. And I wrote it with a guy named Damon West. And Damon is the guy who heard about the coffee bean when he was in jail, actually. And so he was in jail for 7 years, believe it or not. And he was burglarizing homes. He had gotten addicted to meth. And as a result of that, he was trying to support his habit. His life had fallen apart. He was doing all these bad things. And he gets caught and he gets put in jail for 7 years. While he's in jail, he meets a guy named Mr. Jackson, who tells him about the carrot, the egg, and the coffee bean. And I'll tell you that in a second, but Damon would take that lesson to heart, and he would go and change his life, and he would go and impact the people in prison, and he would make a difference in a very harsh place. He would have a huge impact. And it's why he got out in 7 years. He was supposed to be there for 65 years, but he gets out in 7. Then he comes out and he starts speaking and making a difference in all these different places. And he spoke to a football team called Clemson football in South Carolina, University of Clemson football team, one of the best teams in the country. He spoke to their college team, and the head coach, Dabo Sweeney, is a friend of mine. And I spoke to the team as well. And the head coach, Dabo, said, hey, you got to check out this guy, Damon West. He just gave a great talk about the carrot, the egg, and the coffee bean. And Dabo proceeded to tell me about the lesson. And as soon as I heard the lesson, I knew it was a life-changing lesson. I knew that everyone needed to hear this message, because it's the ultimate message of inside out. The power's on the inside. And I had been talking about inside out for several years. And once I heard the coffee bean analogy, I'm like, this is it. This is the ultimate analogy to explain inside out. So here it is. You take a carrot and you put it into hot water. What happens to the carrot? It gets softened. It gets weakened by its environment. You put an egg into boiling hot water. What happens to the egg? It gets hardened. And like the egg, we can get hardened by the conditions, the environment, the situation. We can get bitter. We can get angry. We no longer care about people and what's going on. I just don't care. We could be like the carrot and get fearful and stressed and anxious and allow the situation to cause us to crumble from the inside out. Or we could be like the coffee bean. The coffee bean, when put into boiling hot water, is not impacted by its environment. It transforms that water into coffee. And so we have that power inside of us, just like the coffee bean, to transform every environment we're in. We don't have to allow our circumstances to define us. We can define our circumstances. We don't have to allow all the situations that we're in and the adversity and the negative people to wreak havoc on us. Instead, we can actually impact the people around us and create change from the inside out. So the power is on the inside. And once you understand that, you know that you could be a powerful force in the world. I'm not a victim of my circumstance. I'm not going to allow this world to make me miserable or negative. I'm going to stay positive and impact the world in a positive way. Wow. And so that's what the coffee bean is all about positivity, impacting the people in this world in a positive way, and creating positive change. So we wrote this little book. It's a little fable. It's a little story. And it's about a young man in high school and how he has to overcome. He winds up going to a military academy. He then winds up leaving and going into the workforce, goes into marketing, winds up transforming his company. And we watch this young man in his journey through life, a very short story, almost like a children's book for adults, as he learns this lesson, shares this lesson, and we watch the impact he has on others around him and ultimately the legacy that he leaves. And it's really nice, powerful story and a great message.
I feel like most of the guests that I have in this show are coffee bean, because these are people who grew up in difficult circumstances. The odds were against them. And now today they are business leaders, they are speakers, they are thought leaders, and they are changing the environment around them. But let me ask you a question in regards to the book. So the main character, Abraham or Abe, he was approached by his teacher, and this teacher, well, was guiding him and showing him the how the carrot, the egg, or the coffee will react to the pressures of water. Now, many of us do not have that teacher, or maybe if we do, we just don't see it. So, how do we solve this problem? I mean, I could have a teacher in my environment and I just don't hear that message. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They may have a positive message around them, but they just don't hear it, they don't see it. How can we be more perceptive to that positive message?
Well, we have to seek those teachers. We have to seek those people who guide us and mentor us, like your podcast, like my podcast, Positive University. And also I have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, a Twitter page, and I'm always sharing encouraging messages and positivity with people, and people gravitate towards it. They listen to it. It encourages them. So you have to seek out your mentors. You have to seek out resources that help you. We have so much information available to us today, and there's a lot of mentors from afar. Maybe they're not someone who's coaching you in your everyday personal life from a physical standpoint, like where they're right there with you. But I'm a mentor to many, and I have mentors who mentor me. And so in this world, we can find people we can connect to. I listen to sermons. They inspire me. They encourage me. I encourage others through all my channels. And so you can read books that inspire you. You can read the Coffee Bean each day. You can listen to the audiobooks. You can listen to the podcast. You can read the tweets each day. So it's what you choose to fill up with on a daily basis. It's all available to you. It may not be that person that's right there next to you, like my teacher was to me in high school, or a coach was when I played sports, but I don't have that anymore. You know, I have my wife, my kids. So I have to find those resources to fill up with. And then I have to make sure that I'm taking what I have and encouraging others in the process. So it's about finding those people and seeking them out and tuning into them every day. It's all available to you. Tune in. So come see me at jongordon.com, JON Gordon.com, and you'll find out all my channel, Twitter and Instagram at JonGordon11, JON Gordon11. We also have Daily Positive, dailypositive.com. And if you go to dailypositive.com, we share a free quote every day of encouragement. And so we're here to encourage people.
I find that extremely powerful, because I live in an environment where I see my friends struggling, and they feel overwhelmed by all the pressures of life. And because I listen to podcasts and I read books every day, I feel like I live in a totally different universe. And it almost feels like, we're just sharing space at a given moment, that I share that space because I like human company, but I just live in a total different universe. I feel like I'm friends with you, and I'm friends with other thought leaders who share the same mentality, although we are thousands of kilometers or miles away.
So true. How you see the world determines the world that you see. And so we are tuned into seeing the world a different way. And people who are thought leaders who are in this space see the world differently, but anyone can. It's available to anyone. You said they're struggling. They feel like they're a victim because they're not coffee beans. So we need to let them know this coffee bean message that you have the power inside of you to impact the world outside. You're not a victim of your circumstance. Stop seeing the world that way. And that's what my goal is, with the coffee bean. It's why we wrote it. We want people to understand this lesson. And once you understand this lesson, you can empower yourself and see the world completely different. And then you can take actions that create a different world. And if everyone saw it the way we saw it, we would have such a amazing world. It would be so different than it is. But so many people struggle with fear and anxiety and depression and hate and anger and vengeance. And there's a battle going on between good and evil. It's the ultimate battle. That's why every major epic movie is about good versus evil, because that's the story that resonates in our soul, because it's what we're taking on every day. So we have to fight all the evil with good. We have to fight the bad with good. We have to bring love to the hate, and love wins. So the more we share love and these lessons for growth, the more we can help others grow. So I hope people tune into that. Hope they read the Coffee Bean. Hope they empower themselves with messages like this and share it with someone who needs to hear it. I can't tell you how many people have told me that they were miserable and negative, and they read the Energy Bus and it changed their life. Coffee Bean's only been out a year, so I hear a lot more stories on Energy Bus over the years. But Coffee Bean, I'm starting to hear stories from that too. But they read something, and that book, that message changes their life. The books I read as I was growing up changed my life. It allowed me to see the world completely different. And that's why we need to seek out these kind of books. That's why I write them.
Do you think people find themselves comfortable in their struggle? Like if things work out in a positive way, then they somehow will lose their identity, and they just feel at ease with, you know, not having enough money to pay the rent because that's the environment that they have always, and maybe being in a successful mindset and framework that scare them because it's not what they are used to.
Well, they actually get stuck in that mindset, in that environment. They don't believe they deserve more. It's not that they're scared of success. People often talk about people being scared of success. I actually don't buy that. I think that we're not scared of success. We think we don't deserve success. And because we don't deserve it, we don't go after it. And so that laziness that you see is not really laziness. It's really fear. Right. And so fear is gripping you. Fear is holding you back. It keeps you stuck in the complacent, in the comfortable, whereas we need faith to move past the discomfort, become uncomfortable, and then grow from there. And so I think people get scared to take the chance. They don't feel like they deserve more. They don't think it's possible. So they cut off the flow of abundance and positive energy in your life. God has a plan for you, and God wants to give you great things, and he has a destiny for you. And so often, I guarantee everyone gets ideas, impulses, desires to pursue something. But a lot of people say, oh, I can't do that. Oh, that's not possible. Or, nah, I don't want to do that. Or, I don't deserve that. Deep down, maybe they're not saying it out loud, but deep down they're feeling that. So what happens? They don't trust in God that it's possible, or they don't believe they deserve it. And so they don't receive it, and they don't create the destiny that God actually was trying to bring them towards. Gave them desire, showed them the vision, but they didn't take the actions to create it, even though he was giving it to them. And all they had to do was believe and act, and they would have created it, but they didn't.
One last thing. So you mentioned you believe in God so many times, and I feel like a lot of people misquote the Bible, and it's in particular this quote of the love of money is evil, and a lot of people just grab onto that. And if I have found that at a moment I have pointed out the success of one person or another, and the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, oh, they're probably cheating someone. They're probably stealing from somebody. They're probably doing that dishonestly. And it is automatic. It's not even it's a reflex, a knee-jerk reflex that comes out automatically. And I try to figure out why is that? Why you correlate doing well with being evil or cheating or being dishonest or yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that do evil, and out of their wickedness, they do make money, and they have a lot. And so there's a lot of people that do cheat. We need to be honest about that. But there's also a lot of people who have integrity, who have a lot of faith, who are strong believers, and they use their money to do a lot of great things in the world. And they give their money away to missions and the homeless and the needy and charities. And I give away a fortune out of my book sales and royalties and speaking to help missions and charities and nonprofits and all of that, because I know that without God, I am nothing. Now, for me, I'm not big on religion. People should know when they hear this. I'm big on relationship. God's not a religion. He's a relationship. And so in that relationship, there's a creator of the universe. The universe means one song. And so there's a creator of the one song who wants to create harmony in you and peace in you and created you for a purpose. And you have a purpose and there's a plan for your life. Abundance happens when you're pursuing your purpose. You don't do things for money. I certainly didn't start writing and speaking for money. Have I become wealthy doing it? Yes. Did I grow up with wealth? Not at all. I actually grew up very middle to lower middle class. So I never expected to have this, but I like to give a lot of it, away. But I do have nice things and I have a nice house and so forth, but I don't feel bad about that. For me, there's so much energy in the universe. Why should I expect so little? But it goes back to your intention. What is your intention? Am I doing this for money? No. I love impacting people more than I love money. My heart is always about how does this serve others more than how does it serve me? So it's always, God knows your heart. He knows your intention, and he knows ultimately, are you doing it for the money? Or are you doing it for the right reasons? And that's where it comes in. So I believe when you invest in the root, you will experience great fruit. Focus on the fruit of the tree. Ignore the root, and the tree will die. The root will die, and so will the tree. So it's really about like your core of who you are, your culture, your leadership, your principles. And that is what should drive you, not like the desire to make money. I'm not a big believer in the prosperity gospel that says, hey, believe in God. He's going to give you all this money. He's going to give you all this wealth, right? That's dangerous too, because, it's not God's goal to make us wealthy. It's God's goal to make us
give us purpose.
For his purpose. It's God's goal to make us in his image. It's God's goal to make us disciples where we love, serve, and care, and we help others in this world. It's God's goal to make us into a relationship, a oneness with him, not separate, but oneness. The word anxious literally means divided. That when you feel anxious, you feel divided. At its Greek root word, you feel separate from your source. And I think that's why so many people feel anxious, is because they don't feel connected to their creator. That's what I'm trying to say here. Become connected, and that anxiety goes away. And in that oneness, that wholeness, you now have the power to create anything that God has planned for you. And if it's in your purpose, if it's part of your purpose and part of your plan, you will do it. Some people will have more wealth. Some people will have more happiness. But the goal should be happiness and joy, not wealth.
Right. Okay. Well, this is a beautiful message, Jon. Can you tell us one last time the title of your book and where people can follow you?
The Energy Bus, The Coffee Bean, The Power of Positive Leadership, I recommend. And also The Garden, one of my newest books called The Garden, and The Carpenter, if you're interested in building greatness and the principles we just talked about. The Carpenter is a powerful book as well as The Garden. And they can find me at jongordon.com, JON Gordon.com, or at JON Gordon11 for Instagram and for Twitter. And I'm on Facebook as well.
Jon, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you, Elaine. I appreciate it.